into
Okay.
immediate Dusa. Meanwhile, that's another Dawnbreaker bait on the Four Zoomers side as well. So just matchup specific kind of play from them there. But I mean, letting the Dawnbreaker through would have been probably preferable to TMM getting a Medusa into Double King's hands. That's the hero that sort of led this team through phase one in that final series.
Yeah, and of course, not paired with the coddle, so it is going to
True.
be a finite source of mana unless they, do something really peculiar and pick up a Pugna later on in this draft, but don't think that's really in the cards here. But now, as we always talk about with this Medusa, it's about patience. It's about when you get that perfect stone gaze off. It's about not getting baited into committing to that spell too early. And it's about whether or not your teammates can actually keep them around after the fact. It's something that Mystery Machine doesn't really have in their Veno or their Ogre just yet. So I think that's where, in what I'm assuming is going to be Tibbs and Shaggy's hero here, we need to see some lockdown. We need to see another big team fight spell. I think the Puck would be a nice sign of life for them. Just have anything, even though, again, versus that Sprout talent, that Sprout leash can be pretty brutal. You kind of just die sometimes, but they need something to get that team fight started. I don't think they could be too afraid of a 20 talent.
Yeah, you can't necessarily let that affect the way that you want to draft. Maybe there can be a little bit of healthy respect to it. Try and avoid heroes that are entirely sort of relying on their movement, a la Storm they tried to run last time, something like the Ember Spirit as well. But they still need something because it can't just be Medusa by herself. Meanwhile, for Four Zoomers, run it back with the Pango. Doesn't necessarily have to be in Gunner's hands again, but I mean, based on the sort of damage it was able to deal, based on how effective the Roll of Thunder was in the last one, it does feel like it could be Gunner's hero, or should be Gunner's hero, as opposed to running it in a supporting role.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like they really only need to put Gunner on, or rather Moo on that Pango if they do feel as if there are just no offlaners left. If they are going to go for that, then they should just pick Z Freak's hero here so they have that little bit more flexibility after seeing if Mr. Machine just take their offlaner. And that's
Ooh.
what it'll be. And that Shadow Demon is a very nice pick. That's going to be your disruption onto the enemy Medusa. Have those very pesky illusions of your own now to push out those waves. Not to mention, if this Medusa does get that Manta, and she is going to get a Manta, every single time you do push those onto the side, if Zfree can just meet the wave in the meantime, then he's just going to be able to push out the zone wave. It'll be pretty nice for him. Now, Ember into Shadow Demon. That is a very scary matchup to play. That is one where if you are not 100% sure about either getting out or going in, the Purge is just brutal to play against. I think they pick it for the matchup versus the Pango in the mid lane, but again, that's where we could also just see this be Moo's hero. I don't know if this is going to be the matchup that they're necessarily looking for. I'm a little bit concerned now for TMM.
Got an Ember against, as you said, the Shadow Demon, right? With the Disruption, with the Purge, with the Pangolier, who can drain away your mana if he is going for that Diffusal Blade. The CM has a Root. The Nature's Prophet will have his 20 talent for the Leash. So this Ember, I foresee a scenario for Mystery Machine here where that Ember basically goes in and then is just stuck forever until he either wins the fight or dies. And against what Four Zoomers have at the moment, it does feel like it's going to be the dying a lot more often than the single-handedly winning a team fight route.
Yeah, and well, Timbersaw ban out. I think now it's really easy for Zoomers to make this hard on Tib. I think they're the team with the flexibility, and usually, as we always say, the team with last pick needs to play as if they're drafting for last pick. They need to keep you guessing. It's where we see the Timbers, the Kunkas, the Pangos, the heroes that can be in several different positions come out. I think Mr. Machine are just maybe a little bit too rigid here because they want the comfort, they want the relative strength, and they do have a Medusa in the game. They're the team that's going to feel very confident coming into those later stages. I just hope Double King can get that ball rolling. I hope that he's going to have that team to back him up. And he's, a bloodlusted Medusa with Venom words surrounding him. When it comes to Four Zoomers actually getting into this fight, they're going to have a lot of trouble exiting the fight, especially if they get caught whenever the Pango tries to leave. But at the same time, they do have a lot of tools. BKBs are going to be brutal for them. And now I feel like if they really need to, they could just pick Gunner's hero here, and then, well, you don't have to worry about that Pango versus Ember mid matchup. A matchup that I don't even think is all too bad for the Pango, but it is a little bit annoying, especially if he maxes the Flame card. You can certainly die in that lane, and we've certainly seen Shaggy able to pull some pretty crazy stuff out in those first 5 minutes of the game. Just always is able to get a solo kill, kind of randomly here or there, but that's where we also say the exact same thing about Gunner. Another game where I feel like in a different situation, maybe they would have wanted to pick the Tusk, but they actually banned it out because I think Tib is that kind of player that will play the Tusk.
Ooh.
And NS, okay, they swap it up. Pango's going to go mid. Night Stalker's going to be for Moo, most likely. And now what do Mystery Machine do?
Sure, at this point, they might need to look for someone a little defensive at this point. Yeah, that'll kinda fit that bill in terms of hero. Someone that can just keep the Night Stalker and the Pangolier at arm's length, even if it's just for a couple of seconds. Because if your Night Stalker just gets in there with the Crippling Fear, you've got an AoE Silence, your Medusa can't do anything, your Ember Spirit is basically dead in the water, so probably one of the better picks they could come up with in this situation, but now it feels like 4Zoomers are once again in that position, ET, to dictate the pace of play in the first 10 to 15 minutes, and saw what that did to Mystery Machine last time.
Yeah, and at the same time, before you had a DK Sun, you had concussive shot, you're kind of going in the dark. Now with Moop, you don't need to guess. You get that Dark Ascension, you flood onto the map. Last time, I believe we saw this Night Stalker come out. It was paired up with a Gunner hero that could do exactly what the Pango's going to do here, where he just floods in. There's always going to be that threat. No hero on Mystery Machine's side can just carelessly walk up to a building. Anytime you're going to be showing on the map here, there needs to be that threat in the back of their minds where are we going to start a 3-on-3 engagement right now, right here? They cannot let themselves get caught unguarded. They need to be very careful, and they need to stay with each other. I feel like if they are ever separated, we could see very easily just 4Zoomers bring another hero, and then they lose the fight just because the numbers are there for them. And the numbers will always be there for 4Zoomers. It's where Mystery Machine need to be so cautious in this early game.
All right, I just want to make a quick point here, not entirely related to the game itself, because I just noticed what Molly Burgos's Venomancer looks like, and now that I have noticed this, I am going to quite literally force the rest of you to suffer through it as well. Look at this thing. This is the stuff of nightmares. These cosmetics have gone too far. What the hell is this?
I mean,
That's just terrifying.
he's venomy, he's kind of cute with the taunt, that the banana really made him a much less serious hero. He's supposed to be a scary dude, but he's certainly a little bit goofy nowadays. Love to see it. I mean, at least it's not kind of the strange theme with the Immortals where he became an Aztec warrior. That completely blindsided me. I was not ready for the the Aztec snake. That was kind of a sideline that I didn't really expect them. I mean, Venomous Gale shooting arrows, like who thinks of this stuff? It's crazy.
It was certainly creative, we'll say that, but this cosmetic, you got too many teeth, too many jaws, too many eyes, just ugh. I'm not a fan of it, but just wanted to point that out. Just wanted to transfer a little bit of my nightmare onto you, chat. So enjoy it. You get to experience it alongside me. But something that might actually be relevant to the game. This looks like a bit of a shift in terms of the laning situation. Double King has made his way towards the top lane, whereas Tib was maneuvering himself down bot. So maybe an attempt to dodge out some of these initial laning.
Now, I do have something that I am incredibly scared of right now. With Maui Burgos' items, is he
Oh,
jungling
Stone Quelling Blade and
in a Sage's mask? Is he just going to sit on this ramp and farm 2 camps the entire early game? Is that what is happening? Whenever you start with these items and he steals the ward to make sure nobody coming to mess with him is going to be able to do it unreported. I feel like we have a jungle Venomancer in this game.
okay. Certainly different. We'll see just how much he can find if that is going to be the case. And at this point, it has to be, right? Look at where he's positioned. He's just nowhere near any of the runes or the lanes. So, unexpected. But if Molly Burgers can pull it off, and you can actually run a 4-core lineup here, then this could look a little bit better. And it works out just that little bit better for the Venomancer as well, because this time when he's farming is a time when the Medusa simply is not going to be capable of sort of claiming all of the farm on the map, right? The dibs hasn't come in yet from Double King, so an attempt to just maximize efficiency here that could get your Veno a little bit further ahead in the early stages. But that does mean Tib is not going to have a fun time. He's going to get sort of pushed back pretty frequently. But if you're the Underlord, I don't know if you care. As long as the wave pushes towards you, you're still going to get the experience and you'll still find some last hits.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is what four Zoomers want. I think honestly, either a hero is going to be pretty happy. Maybe the NP is just going to be able to deny a little more as Costa Bela's cat is meowing. But I think that's where Tib not having to play versus that Night Stalker, Moo would just have to take all this creeps underneath tower, where Costabile is certainly going to be able to static things a little bit more. But yeah, Tib's on his own. It's a 1v2. It's one where Zefric is just really going to right-click and walk him back to the tower as much as he humanly can, where at the same time, you have to hope that Double King is going to get so farmed in his triangle, he's actually able to keep that lead that he should be able to build up pretty early here. It's just the collapse that I'm afraid of coming whenever these lanes do break down, whenever you do have Moo getting his level 6. And we do have a Jungle Veno.
Jungle Veno. Always some interesting stuff in these games, but should be just fine. Hopefully Tib is going to be able to hold his own. Meanwhile, Double King is already getting smacked around a little bit. Boo is just going right in onto him, so four Zoomers, they're not messing around. They know we can put pressure on this Dusa. I'm not sure if they figured out that the Venomancer's jungling yet, but well, even if they do find that out, in this top lane, that's just not a concern. Moo and Husky really have nothing to do with that, so they're going to look to push themselves forward, and it'll be down to Empyrean to see just how much extra space he can make for Double King to actually farm.
Yeah, and it is tough, especially with CM getting a little bit of a non-731C. Not all too much changed, but this hero has always been good at making those early trades happen. Crystal Nova is just an incredibly efficient spell, not only for the attack slow, but also just a 130 damage nuke for 115 mana. It's just good business right there. And they are going to push in the wave a little bit to win these trades. It's one of the downsides of the CM, just out of virtue of having that Crystal Nova be in there. But that's where Double King is going to be quite happy with farming under tower. Just needs to be careful if he gets too many creeps, then Moo can certainly put some pressure on him. But I think with kind of this mid-range, it's not like he's truly double waved. He's just got another ranged.
Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, Tib is experiencing difficulties with this laning setup, and Z-Freak's going to run him down for the first blood, so that's a bit of a problem for Tib. He is not the Timbersaw that he was in the last game, so he's not quite as durable as Lil Tib. I love that. Named Courier Little Tib. He's trying to run away from Z-Freak, and we'll be able to micro it out of trouble. Or maybe not. The Shadow Demon is still sort of hanging out nearby, but could be just fine. But the most important aspect there is the first blood play going to 4.
Yeah, and I do wonder when it's time for Z-Freak to just, go see what's happening in the bottom lane as they go for another surround here. Ooh, they let him go. That is a really uncharacteristic miss. And I mean, you've got the two best body blocking heroes here. You've got both the Disruption Illusions as he gets a little bit of it, I guess, at the tail end of that play. But this is the unfortunate thing for Tib. Both Z-Freak and Costa Bele do not need to nuke the wave to get these trades going for them. They can simply run past the wave, hit you instead, and until he gets a Vanguard or some more armor, he's going to feel every right click that they do land.
And now Z-Freak's going to head on over to try and steal a last hit or two away from the jungling Venomancer. Not really sure he wants to overcommit because that's a hell of a lot of wards. Oh boy. Bit of a fake out on the TP. He's thinking about it the second time. This time he will go for it. And Molly, he's got nothing. He's got no Gale. He's a jungle Veno, so there was no point to getting the Venomous Gale, and that's another kill going over to the side of four Zoomers. And they may be getting a third. Yes, they will. Empyrean falls in the top lane as well, and, well, starting to see a little bit of that pressure again. TMM did not respond to it fantastically in the first game, and maybe in a similar situation here in game 2.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. They're really, I think, with this setup and their choices in the draft, at the mercy of their opponents. They're really going to be playing a waiting game. They're really going to need to be hoping for, I think, some missed cues from four Zoomers. It's where I do hope that this Jungle Veno is going to be able to do something. as the Solar Crest Rush is certainly an interesting option to go for, but that's where, unfortunately, you are playing versus a Nature's Prophet, so every once in a while, Costa Bula can just show up to whatever Z-Freak wants to get done in this game. I wonder if Z-Freak's going to try and block up any of these camps here. No, I just got to get the D word that isn't even there. So a little bit of a whiff from him, but at the same time, if Maliburgos is in your triangle, you're not stacking for Medusa, you aren't getting that big push in. Not saying the Double King would be ready for that anytime soon, but it's still going to be a lot of space taken up.
Meantime, Moo getting his hands on the early urn, so, well, it seems like everything's kind of coming together for Four Zoomers here in terms of playing that up-tempo style. So, see, actually, if Z-Freak makes another move here, you look at him getting into the jungle. He's got eyes on Molly Burgos once again, but his way mid instead. But just sort of playing in between here because his carry doesn't need him, right? The Nature's Prophet is going to be just fine by himself against that Underlord, so Z-Freak has free reign to go wherever he wants, and wherever he wants right now is onto Double King top. This is a kill they could realistically get. They've got the slow. Husky has the root back up in 1 second. They just need to get in range, but Husky is a very slow gentleman, and they're actually not going to be able to reach it in time. So instead, they'll root up Empyrean, but Moo and Z-Freak, they just kept on going on to Double King. They knew the kill that they wanted. Moo will now pay for it, though, with High Shaggy coming in. Moo, does this TP complete? Oh boy. Actually, he didn't even TP back to base. He TPs to his tower. Husky can't heal him because he used his own salve, so it's a little bit awkward, but this is something that Mystery Machine may not expect. They might have thought that they just pushed Moo all the way back, but Shaggy's not going to go far enough forward to potentially get himself caught.
Yeah, if Shaggy has a little bit more mana, then he probably gets the kill with the Fire Remnant. It's unfortunate, but Tib, yep, they just relocate it, gives up on his own life there. Yeah, the body blocks are just brutal. He isn't able to escape, isn't able to really build up any phase boots either, so it's not like he has that extra tankiness or that phase speed to actually move on. But look at Meli Burgos, you know, he's farming still. He's migrated to the other side of the map, as unfortunately Z-Freak is going to scout out the wards here and then be a little bit aware of where this Veno is playing. Don't think we can afford any more Mali Burgos deaths, though. We're going to start seeing some morale hit on the TMM side pretty soon, I think.
To try and keep him up here at this point, as Tib, he just TP'd himself down bot. They saw him TP in. They've got 3 heroes in the area as Gunnar has rotated over, and Tib, he's just got to try and ult himself away. Oh. Whew. That was a close one. And now, yeah, please don't do that, Tib. Please, just think of the people who love you. That's not the way you want to go, as we'll decide against him. The tower, though, does get taken down, so Four Zoomers, I mean, this is exactly what they want. 5-0 start, tier 1 tower already gone. Bottom lane's kind of dead and buried at this point, because Tib, I mean, I guess he could still try to sit around here with the tier 2 as cover, but Costabile doesn't have to really stick around himself. He could just farm up wherever he wants. He could start looking to get aggressive across the map a little bit more as well, so much has opened up for Four Zoomers, and TMM really don't look like they're ready to respond.
Yeah, it is going to be a waiting game. It's going to be their high ground. And at the end of the day, right, their high ground is pretty darn good. They're going to have Bloodlusted Towers. They're going to have Veno Wards. They're going to have Firestorms, a Medusa on top of all of that. Is that really all TMM have to do for us game plan-wise, though? Kinda, to be honest. But I think that's where Four Zoomers certainly need to play a little bit tight still. They cannot give up too much to their opponents here, as Shaggy, looking for the kill to Z-Freak, might die, doesn't even get it.
He doesn't have mana to jump to a Remnant now as well, so he's going to get taken down. Empyrean is just stuck here, so he'll be falling too. Husky's the one to get the kill. Molly Burgos will try to TP out. Can Moo reach him for the Void? No. Doesn't quite have the range there, but I mean, they find Shaggy. That's the biggest kill possible. You get the Ogre, and your... I was going to say your support didn't even die, but Z-Freak did actually go down there in the end. So EMM get that 0 off the board for themselves with their first kill, but it's still a pretty horrible trade, and now their tier 1 tower is under attack in the middle lane. Gunnar, though, that's a very aggressive push forward. He's going to try to roll his way out of it, but still taking a lot of damage, but there's going to be the TP.
Yeah, with the Solar Crest, a lot of anti-armor, and that is going to be a problem that Four Zoomers constantly have to deal with. Whether or not they can actually get onto these buildings is going to be a struggle. Unfortunately for TMM, though, during every stage of this game, just TPing out from your opponents is pretty much always going to be viable. If you commit too many stuns, then they will just kind of get to leave for free. But with that defensive mid, though, you do protect the triangle, and keeping this mid tower alive is going to be very important for TMM because that does just keep that protection over on the Double King. It's going to feel a lot safer once he farms this Ancient stack as well. I'm going to be about level 8.5 to boot, which is very nice for the Medusa.
Oh, Shaggy just trying to get a little bit of damage there onto Gunner. Can't really keep him locked down long enough to secure a kill, but at least reestablish the Ember Spirit in this lane. But you gotta be so careful if you're high Shaggy because, as we mentioned before, 4 Zoomers have freed up a lot of space for their heroes to rotate as Moo and Z-Freak get in onto Molly Burgos, just trying to push out that top lane by himself, and it's yet another pick.
Yeah, and DK actually got clipped by the Nature's Wrath, so they will know about a ward. It really is just whether or not Empyrean actually hits with it, and of course he does, which is very nice. Do not want to be losing your Medusa to a single TP in from the Nature's Prophet, as DK is playing on pretty low HP pools, all things considering, but at least in the daytime, this is going to be the safe time for TMM. It's where if they do commit that Dark Ascension, it will be a cost. You have to actually be careful about what you're putting out here on the 4-Zoomer side. But that's also where they're under absolutely no pressure when it comes to farming in these early stages. It's always going to be 4-Zoomers pressing the issue, and TMM very reactively dealing with it. So if 4-Zoomers want to farm, then both sides are going to farm, and there's not really any choice TMM can make about it otherwise.
Their ability to control the tempo is basically gone. They just have to react as gonna come a push onto the middle lane. Shaggy will get rooted up, but nice play from Empyrean to stun up Moo, so he's not able to get in with the crippling fear initially. And without that fear, Shaggy was able to jump away, so he is safe for now. Meanwhile, Costable actually didn't join that fight at all. He just stayed focused on the tower, and they do manage to get it. Now they're going to rush TP's top because Double King's all by himself. No backup for the Medusa. Everyone rotated mid to defend the tier 1. That is just perfect play, really. I mean, it turns out that entire sort of series of events mid was just one big distraction. Costable was always going for the tower, and if you're the Mystery Machine, you're forced to play into that scenario. You couldn't just let your tower go for free, but everyone rushes in to defend, and the Medusa's left all by herself.
Yeah, very difficult game for said Medusa. I know he doesn't want to be mid, because if he's mid, well, that's where 5 of the 4-Zoomers heroes are. The only reason they come top is to take him out here. Is this a thing? Is my Burgos really just going to try to, like... Okay. I don't know if it's a thing anymore. I think in getting too close to the pit, they aggro to him, as that's how it works. You do aggro past the wards when it comes to killing creeps and towers, but still like 2,000 damage. I mean, you know, something, I guess. But I think TMM are doing a good job here, at the very least, trying to get pressure, get this tier 1. You know, it's kind of spreadsheet Dota. Z-Freak actually going to get punished as well for staying up here as long as he has. But that's where, looking over at bottom, they're looking for the bigger play. This is still quite difficult, though. Husky really needs to get that root down. They have the Fire Remnant, though. Doesn't react. He's going to get another hit off. Yep.
I predict with utter certainty that the enemy team has got this.
Problem there is that Costable is just a little bit too good. Right? He hits him up with the Sprout a couple of times. You sort of lull your opponent into a false sense of security because he had the Remnant and the mana to jump to it that whole time. But throughout that entire fight, Shaggy thinks he's just dealing with the Nature's Prophet, and Costable just sort of doesn't give up the game until it's too late for the Ember to actually make his retreat. And now Gunner's going to look for another. He does get hit by that ult, but now he'll just TP away. Double King can't cancel it. Empyrean can't reach in time thanks to the play from the Nature's Prophet. They get away with another one.
Yeah, they're just playing with each other pretty nicely, very easily. I think 4-Zoomers would love to maybe get a little bit more vision in the triangle, but this triangle farm is all that Double King is getting right now. He has not really been able to make his breakaway. He's got a very slow Manta style. Your item timings, yet again, are kind of thrown out the window right now. At the very least, Tib is going to have an Atos and I think one more creep. Then we can see really a lot more aggression coming out from that pit ward specifically. And that is your counter, especially when Mu is looking to just run into these fights still sitting about 1,000 gold away from his Blink Dagger. Once he gets the Blink Dagger, then things change a little bit, but that's where we do need to see, I think, a few more plays coming in from TMM just to kind of stall their opponents out. That's where for Zoomers, very typical with a minute left in nighttime. It's always very easy to smoke with that Dark Ascension. So when Dark Ascension ends, your Night Stalker is still a hero if the fight does prolong. That's also where Molly Burgos has to be so careful here. If he places another ward, they kind of know where he is, and they're cutting into triangle.
Gunner tries to jump for Empyrean first, so they're a little bit split at the moment. They're going to go after the Venomancer kill first, though. They've got the silence from the Crippling Fear, and Moo just makes that so easy. So it would have been nice if Gunner could have maybe kept the pressure on Empyrean to find a secondary pickoff there, but at this point, 4 Zoomers are just looking to keep the pressure on. It's 12-2 in terms of the kill count, so 2 kills would be nice, but 1 kill still sends the message.
Yeah, I think everything is kind of still very easily coming to for Zoomers. They're the ones who are going to have the easy time in the game. You know, give it another 15 minutes, maybe we're saying something a little bit different. That's where your Blink Daggers, your BKBs, those timings kind of feel a little bit weakened, as this is a slow
Oh,
smoke
no.
and Moo.
That is
Get him,
painful.
Shaggy. Oh no.
Well, let's see if they can find something. They do have eyes on Gunner. Atos comes in. Husky just has to channel out the freezing field, but now here comes Moo. AoE silence coming into play, trying to lock down the Ember Spirit. They're doing a fair bit of damage. Gustavo is going to TP in here as well, but Double King has arrived. He's going to throw out that Stone Gaze, and 4 Zoomers do have to back away. Moo's dropped low. Can they get him with the burn? Yes, they can. They want even more than that. Gustavo is trying to get into the pit, looking for some sort of backup here. Empyrean, though, staying on him, allows Shaggy to come in to finish off the kill. Now Gunner's rooted up inside the Pit of Malice, and well, it's gonna be a pretty spectacular team fight win as Shaggy grabs the double. 1 more kill onto Z-Freak there, and that might have been the Dota equivalent of the Fumble Rooski ET. They, quote-unquote, blow their own smoke, but still get the exact initiation that they wanted.
Yeah, they just kind of kept it going. They kept on going deeper and deeper into 4 Zoomer's vision. Really great position from Double King there. Cannot hesitate that as much. The Stone Gaze was perfect. It cuts off both the heroes on the secondary ramp here as Tib unfortunately gets taken down by the combo of Moo and Husky, but that's also where this Ember Spirit, when you're not dealing with that silence, and Moo is getting a little bit ahead of himself here, he's dead.
Wow.
Okay.
Gustavo, are you sure? Okay, he'll just go for
sure?
the easier kill.
Oh.
Oh, I say easier. It doesn't mean it's easy, as Empyrean cuts his way through, and he'll walk away as well. So, at the drop of a hat, TMM suddenly sort of find their footing with first trade going their way, a secondary fight around the tower that sort of works out in their favor, and kill count is still very much in the favor of 4 Zoomers, but the net worth is just about evened up.
Yeah, and of course, back to that initial play, also had a deity rune on the Ember Spirit. That certainly turned the tide of the war, but now Manta Sal finished on Medusa. It's the type of game, as we usually talk about in Dota, where TMM need to win 2, maybe 3 team fights, and then they can win the game. 4 Zoomers are the team that need to win countless team fights, fight after fight, taking the map, taking objectives consistently. They're the team that certainly has the more direct path to victory, but if they don't hit, and especially if they give up a few opportunities to TMM, that's where the snowball in the other direction could certainly start to change, and it's a threat that I think 4 Zoomers 100% need to be scared of. They can't really afford another messy fight like that to happen where they lose all their cores.
Such a weird scenario for them. Almost felt like they were reaching that point of overconfidence that we see with a lot of teams, where it's just, if we show up with all of our guys against all of their guys, we just win by default. And sometimes that's true, but not in that fight, not the way that that one shook out. So now can't really afford to fall into that sort of trap again. And honestly, the 4 Zoomers are in a good position to just sort of regroup and not get themselves caught, as Tib is actually going to be the one jumped in on. He's going to look for a TP. That's not happening. And he is certainly dead here. Tib just not allowed to have fun at this point. 1, 4, and 3 for him. It's not the worst stat line we've seen, certainly from the Underlords in the past, but he is just going to be that sort of target for the bullying, really, at all times.
And even though he does go down there, I feel like in a lot of these situations, it is going to be TMM just running down lanes, trying to push out these creeps, and that's your Dark Ascension spent. And Dark Ascension spent minute until daytime as well, so Moo is going to have to wait for maybe another 40 seconds where he can't really make a play happen, but until then, this is a lot of damage onto your tier 2 bottom, a fight that I'm not even sure that they do want. It's going to be pretty risky, especially if they waterfall TP in here, but as soon as the pit ward does respawn, this is going to feel like a little bit of a reach from Four Zoomers if they do really try to press this. They should just kind of fill out the map.
Looks like they're going to do exactly that, backing themselves away at the moment. Costabile TP's top, and just finished off his BKB here as well, so that's another early BKB. In Game 1, it became a slight concern as that sort of duration ticked down, but not enough of one where Four Zoomers weren't still winning the fights. But see if it sort of gets into that scenario again this time around as that scan gives Gunnar a little bit of forewarning, but he's still getting rooted up by the Atos, but he's got his shard, the roll-up just keeps him safe, and Four Staff actually pushing him away. So it is kind of interesting in this game. Gunnar on the Pangolier once again, but he has not really focused on any significant damage output. Blink and a Four Staff, he's got a Yule's queued up, so I understand the utility that brings to the table, but now you start looking at Moo and Costabile as being your really only heavy hitters here when Gunnar's not in his ult.
Yeah, much less farm-oriented role. I think, again, they do it because of that strict timeline that they are kind of going to go and adhere to, but it's also where, unfortunately, they don't have the DK that they had in the previous game, so you don't have that easy tower push in addition to the Treants. It's kind of a gamble, to be honest, from Gunnar here. Not to mention, Diffusal is quite good in this game for reasons we don't even need to mention. Playing versus the Medusa, making it so that you have to commit in and out of those fights pretty consistently. It's a little surprising, to be honest, but again, I think that's because they're looking to win this game probably 26, 27 minutes in. They would love to turn that first Rosh into a first Rax and then just keep the ball rolling as we kind of need to see from them. This is a pretty nice smoke, though, and Double King, he needs help. He needs a Force Staff. He needs team. I don't think he's getting it, though.
Yeah, they're just going to let him die at this point. You saw for just the briefest of moments, Molly Burgos sort of turned around, but he's going to give up on that. But now they're dropping the gate. Tib is coming in. He's going to try to help out, but this help can, yeah, seems like it's coming in way too late to matter. So they will still lose Double King. Tib is just going to go back through his gate and mind his own business. But, yeah, this is the problem. Now they know where their opponents are. Costabile is going to push his way in. Molly Burgos dropped low. He does get off that Poison Nova, but it's as he dies. So there's really no one to follow up that damage. Empyrean will fall as well. And now Four Zoomers have control of the pit. You said first Roshan to first Rax would be the sort of ideal play for them, and step one of that process is complete with the teamfight win.
Yeah, and this is where the Pango, regardless of his items, is so
hello.
nice. Lucky shot, Shaggy!
Shaggy's just going to jump in. Moo has that silence. The only problem is Shaggy's got a BKB, so he doesn't care. Pushes his way forward. He needs that kill under Costabile, and he will get it. Molly Burgos from the grave gets a kill on Husky, as I think he just wandered back into one of those wards. Is now Z-Freak. You are very far forward. Tib is just going to start hacking away at him. I don't know if Z-Freak can actually keep himself alive. He gets rooted up again. He'll be taken down. Gunnar now tries to come in, looking for some sort of revenge. But even if he gets this kill, which, about that, yeah, not really going to be able to do so, as he now has to run away. You did 90% of the work on this Roshan for the other team. Double King just comes in and finishes it off, and Shaggy just completely changed the nature of this game.
And he has been the sole one really changing the game for TMM. I mean, he's the entire reason their last play goes so well. Now you have an Aegis on Double King. This is going to be your farming Aegis. Four Zoomers missed a huge window in this game now, all just not really respecting the Ember Spirit that was starkly missing from that last engagement. It kind of just surprises, I think, everyone. And I think that comes down to Four Zoomers. They got that kill so early on there. Husky didn't really place the vision all too far back. He didn't get to see the approach. That was a long walk up from that Ember Spirit before he was actually able to close the distance with his remnants. But hey, it just works. And now TMM have this Aegis for Double King. He might lose it, and he still can die incredibly easy in this game. But until it actually happens, Gunnar will...
Just needs to buy a little bit of time. He's got
So
his ult
annoying.
coming back up.
Into
But
Shaggy.
they got the root. They'll find the kill. Oh boy. Things are getting a little bit awkward, and that just comes down to the one last point with that Roche pit. That is fundamentals of Dota there. If you're going to go after that Roche attempt, as Molly... Yeah, he's got to back off there. But if you're going to go after that Roche, you either need vision or you need a lookout. If you don't have one of those two things, you do not Roche. Four Zoomers sort of break that rule, and they pay for it heavily, and they might not be done paying for it, because Moo, he's going to get rooted up here. Husky has no way to help out his buddy either. He's going to die as Empyrean finds that kill. Moo will die as well, and this is not a mistake. This is not a misstep or a setback. This is looking like a full-on collapse for Four Zoomers. They've just given up 7 or 8 kills in the last couple of minutes, and they still haven't gotten this Aegis out of Double King's hands. He's getting close to the Scotty, and I mean, TMM have a legitimate shot at this point.
Yeah, and well, the Scotty is not going to be, you know, the end-all, be-all timing as we always see, of course, versus the Nature's Prophet. It's still incredibly strong, but it's also where I think we should see a change up from Double King's build order a little bit here, because you are playing versus... Oh,
he's got his ult this time, though, so yeah.
You still don't want to roll like that, though. It's kind of sad, you know? That's your way to play with Moo, and it's nighttime right now. They'd love to get aggressive again, but that's where Shaggy is just the other aggressor. No BKB, though, for 8 seconds. This is a little bit sad. He needs a little more help.
Well, King trying to get in. He's trying to keep the angle for the Stone Gaze to work, and it is going to do its job. Z-Freak will now die. Moo is trapped up and will be taken down, and I believe, yeah, Shaggy did die in the end, because Starley was able to finish him off, but they turn it into a 2-for-1 trade, and I mean, what happened? TMM just... It's like Jekyll and Hyde at this point. All of a sudden, the switch gets flipped. Shaggy makes that aggressive play, and they're just playing like an entirely different team. And maybe Molly Burgos goes down here. No maybe about it. He should be dying, but...
Gunner died,
yeah, Gunner's stuck.
Again.
No roll, no roll up. He's just taken down, and it's not worth it. Just straight up.
Yeah, and it's certainly a little bit of a misplay from Shaggy there with 8 seconds on the BKB, with the BKB not even close, but at the same time, I think DK's kind of doing it. DK's kind of got what he needs at this point. They've played the defense game, and I said before, they need like 2 or 3 team fights, and then they're back. Well, they won 2 of them. One more. If 4 Zoomers ever lose a fight on their side of the map, I don't even want to think about that possibility right now. And there certainly is a rough path ahead. The Medusa only gets stronger, but that's also where the Shadow Demon Disruption Illusions only get stronger. And DK is kind of throwing a little bit right now. He's a little bit too far up here. He's going to lose Empyrean and the Aegis. And then if Tib's not careful, he could die really easily here.
Tib wants to stick around, though, to try and help out his teammate, as Double King will come back up. But this is not an easy fight. Husky has to back away, but he got a full duration freezing field off. But there's going to be Stone Gaze coming out, and that'll be the reset. Tib is actually still not going to leave. And they may not have to with Shaggy coming up. They feel like they still have the strength to keep this going. Empyrean's the only one who's not available for them. And, well, they still will retreat in the end, but they retreat as a team. And that wasn't as bad as it could have been. But it's Empyrean dead and the Aegis out of your Medusa's hands.
Yeah, and, you know, only a minute and a half, I believe, left on it. So it's not the worst thing ever. But at the same time, they didn't really get anything really in return. As soon as Gunner responds as well, that fight does get a little bit too hot for everyone. But now we're in kind of a weird situation. There really isn't the most obvious progress for anyone here as Shaggy. He's level 20.
Ooh. The BKB is there, but he's still leashed, so he can't leave. That Sprout talent is just so big. Oh my god. The tiniest little sliver of health there as he's able to jump away. Now Gunner is the one who's having the aggression turned on him, but he's going to go in with the Rolling Thunder, trying to track down High Shaggy. The Yule Scepter will be deployed to put him up in the air, and once he lands, he's going to get hit up. Does he have the damage, though, to actually do this? He needs maybe one more hit. Can't quite get it, but he will finally connect. Jesus, Gunner would not give up on that one. They find High Shaggy. They took down Molly Burgos. I don't know if they're getting any more because they'd have to dive a tier 2, but Gunner salvaged that. That was looking a little rough for him for a moment.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. And of course, he's only that low because of the attempt bottom with that level 20 on the NP, but that's still a very important kill. Shaggy is still the engine for TMM to take a lot of these fights, and that's also where I believe this BKB finished up from that Night Stalker is going to be massive. Moose still maybe 500 gold out, but is certainly going to have it by the time we see 4 Zoomers get on the aggressive again. And then everything could really start to flip because there is that easy situation in this game where Four Zoomers can kill everybody and then the Medusa, Double King will surely die. Even though he's working towards that butterfly right now, he can definitely be kited. They have a lot of tools on Four Zoomers to really pull everything out. They love a halberd built up on someone, but it's where tools like the Lucky Shot, like the Disruption, like the Sprout, they make it almost impossible for Double King to stick around. It's where those utility items built up on his teammates, like the Boots of Bearing, the Force Staff. He needs this Veno specifically. He needs Maliburgos. Without him, he certainly could just die.
Four Zoomers know what they need to do to be able to get onto that Medusa. It's just a matter of whether they can pull it off and if TMMs can sort of have the defensive positioning that they need. For now, though, well, it's going to take a step back on both sides. The farming will continue. Double King is very close to finish it. Oh, finishing off a butterfly as Gunner is some shenanigans here. This is a little bit awkward. Losing about half of his health. Doesn't want to have to commit the roll just yet, but if he doesn't, I don't know if he gets out of here. He is sticking around for so long, though, and well, he knows he can get himself away, but it is a little bit awkward. And okay, all of that, big old distraction, and I certainly fell for it. As Shaggy was alone in the bottom lane, they jump in, Moo blinks forward with the silence, and between that and the Sprout play once again, this BKB on the Ember doesn't actually save him.
Yeah, in bottom, it was executed perfectly. If they don't go on the same breath, then he does just BKB and get that Remnant off, but because they hit the same time, it's a lot harder to get that same reaction. You want to just Remnant out. You don't want to have to think about getting that BKB off, and of course, when you do BKB, you're leashed. You're stuck. You can't do anything about it. It's where a lot of that pressure isn't falling onto Double King anymore, but if you're Shaggy, you'd love to get some more items. You'd love to get this Ags. That's what's actually going to let him get onto both. Oh, Gunner. It's a little bit crazy there, but I don't think they're going to be able to follow up. They need the root from the pit ward if they ever want to kill him. But that's where this Ags on Ember, he needs it to get onto that Shadow Demon, but they're going forward.
Yep. Trying to jump in onto Maliburgos. He was able to force staff himself away initially, but Moo will continue to chase. BKB activated, but look at that physical damage coming out from Double King. He's got to be careful. He'll back it off for now. Do they fully commit for this? They've got heroes in the area, but that's still a tier 2 tower, and yeah, they're going to back it off there. That's a little too far forward for them, but they don't lose anyone. Everything's going to work out okay. In the meantime, Costabile has finished a Bloodthorn, so he is going to do even more damage. You've got your Boots of Bearing picked up on your Crystal Maiden now as well, so they've got more damage, they've got more lockdown, they've got more durability for the next attempt.
Yeah, and honestly, that Bloodthorn is a huge timing. They still need to get it kind of after the fact, though, onto Double King, because he does have that really nice timing. Got an Elven Tunic alongside the Butterfly, so evasion-wise, there's no other right now. It's where you might even see Kostabile turn around and look at items like the MKB just to have not only another damage source, but also just having that fight whenever the Dispel does land. And I really think for TMM, if we do see another Dispel get picked up here, would love to see something like that. I feel like they could use another Force Staff as well, to be honest, if Double King wants to go back for like a Hurricane Pike. Just because you never have too many Force Staffs in this game, as Tib really wishes he was getting Force Staff right now. He's going to try, but there's no way that happens.
That gate still just takes too long to sort of channel out there, so they will find the kill. Z-Freak did have to come over to help out, though, so there are 2 heroes down in this bottom lane, but it's not really a situation that TMM can take advantage of at the moment, and it is worth pointing out at this stage, we are 2 seconds away from the old Roche respawn. Venomancer does have a Plague Ward in here that should scout it out, so one side at least knows what's up, but, well, it's 4 Zoomers who have control of that area around the pit, as Gunner is going to go hunting, and Maliburgos might have just given his position away there, dropping that ward. See if they find him. Well, they find him with that. Jesus, the Flying Vision sort of makes that an easy one. Yep, your Venomancer will be taken down. They were at least able to pull the other core out of the area before that fight went down, but now Roshan is sort of opened up, but if you're 4 Zoomers, as I said last time, it's the fundamentals of Dota, right? You need something to sort of give you that vision. This time they've got the ward set up at least, so far less likely to be taken by surprise. It also helps that you can take Roche about 10 to 15 times faster than they did before. There's just no time for anyone from TMM to get over there.
Yeah, and really, I hate to say it, but I don't feel like this Aegis changes all too much in TMM's game plan, as Tib is looking to be very obnoxious here. Yeah, that's Kostabile having to pop his ult. Whereas BKB is able to survive, though not enough physical damage without the Dusa there, but at the same time, I think now with this Aegis in the hands of Costabile, the target has just shifted even further over to Mu. He is really the one who is still going to struggle to get in and out of these team fights. He really hasn't been able to scale himself up any further. He'd love to get this Ag Shard just because the Ag Shard is so nice for staying out onto the map a little bit longer. Don't really need to worry about mana at that point. But again, they need a Halberd. They need something to actually kite this Medusa a little bit more here as Z-Freak almost ingest poking Maliburgos in the mid lane, and does do half his HP, you know? Shadow Demon is pretty crazy for that, but at the same time, Gunner picking up this Refresher is going to be some crazy execution from him.
He's looking to make a move. Tib has to force the BKB, and Gunner... Yeah, at this point, he's just kind of going to leave. So, not a big deal. He's got a Refresher, and honestly... Rolling Thunder's not on the last cooldown anyway, but up in the top lane, Shaggy is going to get himself caught out, pop the BKB, but he's still leashed up inside of that Sprout. What a damn talent. Costabile gets the kill with the help of Husky and Gunner.
I'm just angry.
It's not super balanced. As Empyrean, going to get himself run at here. Nice attempt with that headband, but Mu will not be denied. He's going to continue to push his way forward. Empyrean gets taken down. Now they're in onto Double King. The Medusa got caught. Fiend's Gate coming through, though. They're trying to rush reinforcements to the point of attack, but Double King is in some serious trouble. Volley was able to at least drop down the ult, but it's still not enough. Double King will fall. Now they're in onto Tib. He is not dead yet, but that's only because the disruption is going to put him under, and the second it's done, he does get picked off. 4 dead. Maliburgos, the only survivor, but he really can't do anything at this point. The tier 2 tower should be... Actually, I was going to say should be going down, but where's that creep wave? It's a little ways behind, so it'll have to wait just a few extra moments, but once the creeps arrive, the tier 2 will fall, and with the nature of these, not buyback timers, excuse me, death timers, they could try for the high ground push as well, and if Maliburgos gets taken down, there's not going to be any defenders.
And he will, almost assuredly. No Dispel, no help. I believe he does have buyback, but yeah, and this was something I was eyeing up before, noticing that Double King, well, he bought out for his Daedalus, so this should at least be 2 racks here, even if this is going to be kind of a wholesome defense here from your Veno and your Ogre. If they die right now, this is not a good look here. You're going to have to lose, I feel like, at least one. Empyrean cannot Force Staff himself. He needs the Force Staff from someone else because he's counted as rooted. At least with Shaggy coming back up, maybe that aggression on their buildings takes a little bit of a step back here, but it's where Costabile, he's still got the Aegis. I really feel like this should be able to swing for 2.
Look at Mu go.
Shaggy does not want to BKB that, but Mu also needs to be careful.
It's charged headlong into the fight, but he has that Ag Shard, so he just pops the Hunter in the Night active, heals himself up, and they'll go right back in. They get the Yules onto the Ember Spirit. Good Force Staff, though, allowing Shaggy to sort of fall back and pop the BKB. The problem is, they've lost the second lane of racks, and Shaggy, you are very far forward, but he's going to be able to back off. The problem is that backing off doesn't really solve the issue. You lost 2 lanes of racks, you didn't get any kills.
Yep. It's unfortunate. It's 2 buybacks under supports now that you can't play around, but TMM are exactly where their draft was going to end up putting them. They're on their high ground. They're going to stay on their high ground, and I think a big reason why they lose that fight in the mid lane is because they are just caught on the low ground a little bit too far out from their team. That tier 2 was not nearly strong enough to actually help them win that fight. In DK especially, they need to get him a trust fund. They need to somehow find his way onto buyback here, and he'd also love that 25. DK is really level starved right now. He's, of course, nobody on his team is 25, but really, if they're ever going to get it, probably going to need to give him the 40-minute tome if they are still in this game, but they also have to be so careful here. Look at the bot lane. They'd love to find an easy pick. They'd love to find Shaggy, especially if Costabile sees the Remnant. Okay, it looks like he's going to miss it, but...
They get the leash, they're going to throw down the Purge. Meanwhile, Mu got picked off elsewhere on the map, so there's at least going to be a trade-off, but without Shaggy... without Shaggy, there's not really a whole lot that they can do. It feels like they're just back to that sort of high ground defense now.
Yep, it's, you know, the fact that there are defenders, though, as, yeah, I think Husky going a little bit crazy here, but let's say it's all a bait. Gunner's got the Refresher.
Well, Gunner's going to jump his way in. Rolling Thunder hits onto Medusa, and not a whole lot else, but where's literally any other hero? Yeah, Gunner's by himself, and he's going to realize it and back away, so... It was a bait from Husky, but not really a bait for anything. His Gunner just sort of drops by, says hello, and then leaves. So, your TMM, that knocks a pretty substantial amount of time off the death timer for your Ember Spirit, where you're not losing any more ground.
Yeah, they kind of just get to relax now, as you could say, as the Aegis does get taken away from Custobile's hands. But that's where, unfortunately for Double King, he's got a pretty much impossible choice here. If he gets a BKB, you're still going to be affected by that Demonic Purge. He has the Ag Shard on the Shadow Demon. It's still not the prettiest thing in the world. If he buys a Blink Dagger, he can navigate through the fights a little bit easier, but you still have that nightmare possibility of just getting chain stunned up by Gunner. There's just no great choice here. I think the BKB is an option, but that's where there's even more decision making that goes into this Medusa, where you can't just use the Stone Gaze carelessly. You also use your BKB, then suddenly you can't approach to your tower, and then very realistically, I could see TMM getting megas just off of using their cooldowns.
It's a rough situation. Empyrean, at least, got his own shard, so the Fire Shield will mitigate some of that initial damage. That might be helpful. Certainly better to have it than not, but all of these things you start to wonder, is that actually going to be enough of a game changer here? As Gunner he's going to get stunned up. Lotused himself, so he reflects that stun, and now reflects the ignite as well, and Moo, look at him, waiting in the wings, looking to see, do they have an opening they can bring Costabile in? But Costabile says, nah, forget the fight, I'm going after the objectives. Takes the tier 3 tower, is going to get the ranged racks here as well. Does he stick around for the melee? No. He'll pop the BKB and TP home. His teammates, though, are still kind of stuck in this fight. Husky's been taken down. Z-Freak should be falling here as well. Moo tries to re-engage, but if Gunner doesn't go in, this isn't going to turn into anything. Moo has to actually back himself away. He's going to run out of time on that BKB in just another second or two. Can they catch him? Oh, that helps. The Atos is going to come through. Moo should be taken down here, and well, not really sure how to judge that one, ET. I mean, the tier 3 is down, the range racks fall, so it's just a melee. Now standing between 4 Zoomers and Mega Creeps, but you lost a pretty substantial number of your heroes to create that distraction.
Yeah, and I think very importantly, Tib actually getting his Medusa out of there with the Fiend's Gate. You could certainly see a scary situation playing out as Meli Burgos is getting rolled upon here. He is almost certainly dead. Going to die this next batch of spells from Gunner. Oh.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Never mind. Thought for a moment maybe he could live, but Gunner's going to be able to track him down. Costabile now TP's up top, and well, I don't know how long he's going to commit for this push. Actually, interesting to note here for Costabile as well, he took the Triad upgrade at 25 as opposed to the sort of TP cooldown removal. So that means he's a little bit less mobile than he otherwise would be once he passes that level 25 mark, but these Triads hit hard.
Mm-hmm. They're incredibly annoying, especially the big ones. The big ones are monsters at this stage of the game, but also to take note of, at level 29, he'll be getting that 100% miss chance for sprouted units. So post BKB, unless DK is actually looking for an item like the MKB, we could see a problem. A very big problem for this Medusa in terms of comically trying to defend the Ancient and then just hitting absolutely nothing after that BKB is actually brought out of you. It's a big concern here. At the very least, though, the DK is level 25 as Gunner starts this. Okay.
Gonna pop the Manta. That's gonna get him away from that first bit of aggression. High Shaggy now comes in looking for the kill. Freezing Field's gonna get channeled though, so your Ember Spirit has to be a little bit careful. He's gonna try to reposition, but Moo right on top of him, trying to track him down while the BKB comes to an end, but Shaggy is able to get himself away. Gunner, meanwhile, very far forward here without his teammates. He is actually going to have to roll, and this fight's just getting so broken up, but that's exactly what 4Zoomers wants because Double King is very far away from his teammates. They are going to try to regroup around him, but your Medusa has very little in the way of HP and mana. They're going to put her under with the disruption, just trying to bring her down, but Shaggy buys back, rejoins the fight, tries to push in with the Sleight of Fist. Moo gets taken down. Costabile now in trouble as well. He's got to pop that BKB, but look at the physical damage coming out from the Medusa. Double King eventually will die, but he got Costabile in the process. There's an immediate buyback, though, coming out from that Nature's Prophet, and the fight will continue. Meli Burgos getting in, dropping down the Venomous, or not the Venom Scale, the Poison Nova, but oh, there's no one left alive to follow that up. High Shaggy gets picked off a second time. Z-Freak has to TP away to base so that he doesn't die to the poison. It is a hard-fought victory for Zoomers. They do control the field.
Yeah, and Kosubio is going to scout out the Roche, going to notice that, well, he's got a refresher shard in there. He's got to be able to get the Aegis. He only has the Paladin Sword for healing, so that's a little bit scary. He's going to still have the friends to do this by himself, at least I think so. And honestly, unless they want to be forced into this awkward position, probably going to get Megas. There's enough time for both Roche and getting that last melee racks unless they get the Glyph, but I really don't think TMM are going to Glyph for anything other than the Ancient at this point. Can't really afford to. Not to mention, if Force Zoomers really want to try their shot at it, there is still 70 seconds without an Ember Spirit. I think that's where you're going to see them immediately go in here. And I'm still looking at Costabile's level. He isn't 29 yet, but I'm terrified once he gets there. But I think at the very least, Tib is crazy for trying to defend this.
This is not going to go the way he wants it to. He's now trapped up inside of the Sprout, going to get taken down. The Glyph was used to no avail, and... Okay, I mean, Tib buys back, but there just wasn't really much to gain by making that play. Now he's in some serious trouble. He's going to pop his BKB, but the Purge is on him, so he's still getting broken and slowed. Trapped up now inside of the Sprout, just trying to survive for as long as he can, but the only backup he has is Molly Burgos. Empyrean's coming back up. Double King will now be up as well, but they're just too broken. They're too staggered. The Yule Scepter is going to go onto the Medusa, keeping her up in the air as the tier 4s are rapidly dropping. One tier 4 down, the second will go down. The GG is going to get called, so TMM won't even really make that final attempt at a defense. As 4 Zoomers will take the 2-0 sweep.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like in both games, in both drafts, TMM certainly had something to play for, even though it's clowny. They had a Jungle Venomancer in this game. It certainly felt like they were doing it for a while. And I mean, you look at win probability, really at that 20-minute mark where they got the Roche. I mean, you see the huge swing whenever they get that Aegis onto Double King. Everything feels like it's coming into play there. I think the only thing that really started going wrong for them is every single time Shaggy gets picked off, every single time he falls prey to that NP20, it's just too much that you're losing. It's too much activity that's taken off of the map. It's where, unfortunately, Tib is trying his hardest with his Atos, but it's very singular. The pit, he's trying his best, but he's not able to do what simply the Ember can, and your Ember's just dying. You aren't able to keep that snowball rolling. I could very easily see if Mystery Machine were a little bit wetter, a little bit, kind of more adept at dealing with these very high skill teams, they could have rolled that mid game into a victory, but they just kind of run out of time. They get a little bit sloppy if they aren't playing as careful enough. They don't get to do really the plays that I think were available to them. And that's also where Force Zoomers prove why they are the upper div team, why they are the big brother in this situation, and they do kind of get to win regardless of a lineup that was certainly falling behind their opponents here. They really hit their groove on Mystery Machine. They just fell out of it so quickly, and then everything just gets more and more difficult. The team fights become more complex. Your Pango just gets to do whatever you want. And even though Gunnar was not that carry, he was not nearly as farmed as we usually see him, he certainly was very effective on that Pango nonetheless.
Utility build for the Pangolier there does end up looking quite a bit better than I thought it might sort of be, but I don't know. You don't always need damage. If Gunner's just able to sort of be that disruptive presence, then still make those plays. So 4 Zoomers able to make it happen. Mystery Machine, like we said after game 1, still have some reasons to be optimistic, some reasons to sort of hold their head up high. They were, again, in this throughout the first half and just sort of got outplayed later on. So it's unfortunate that they don't find any points, but at least there's some sort of silver lining to take from this.
Yep, I don't think they should be too upset. And hey, they were in it. Both games, they had their plays. They didn't do what I think is what a lot of teams do when they do think, oh, okay, we're going to be last. We're going to get eliminated. There's no point in playing the next 3 days. They didn't forfeit. They didn't give up. They'd bring in the stand-in, big old Empyrean, but even though they can't win, at least they played some Dota, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they put up a good fight. That's really, at this point, I think the most that you can ask of them. So, well, they'll have more opportunities moving forward, but today it is 4 Zoomers who get the win, and it's 4 Zoomers who we are going to be speaking with, or a member, I should say, who have an interview coming up in just a little bit here. So, gonna be getting all of that set up. We'll get our interviewee in here. I'll get the cameras set up and ready to go, and we'll be back in like 60 seconds for that post-series interview. So stick around. We'll be